Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. Today is part 2 of 4 covering a sovereign citizen Karen who sued me in federal court and lost. Part 1 was wild, part 2 is crazy. But before we get started, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Venice AI. I'm sure by now you've heard of the new generative AI on the block, DeepSeek. If you haven't yet, you should understand how big this is, as DeepSeek was behind Nvidia dropping a record-setting $600 billion in valuation in just one day. You heard me, $0.6 trillion was gone in just one day with the release of this new AI, the first true competitor to ChatGPT. The only problem is, DeepSeek is a Chinese-owned company, and all the conversations you have stored are on Chinese servers and subjected to that infamous Chinese censorship. That being said, the creators of DeepSeek made it open source, and Venice AI took that model and modified it to make it private, permissionless, and censorship-free, giving you the ability to test out DeepSeek without worry that your conversations are going to be shared with the government. They utilize leading open-source AI models to deliver text code and image generation to your web browser. There's no downloads and no installations of anything. And China isn't the only banhammer we need to worry about, as ChatGPT literally has the former director of the NSA sitting on their board right now. And you should definitely believe him when he super pinky promises that he'll never share your data with the government. So no spying, no censorship, and no permissions needed. It all sounds great on paper, but let's see how it actually works in real life. Just look at what happens if you ask ChatGPT to generate a picture of Super Saiyan Gohan. It appears as though it won't generate that image for me. Now watch what happens when I use Venice AI. And just like that, the image I was requesting was provided to me. And one of the best parts about Venice AI is that you don't even need an account to try it out. Just head to venice.ai/Team Skeptic and start chatting privately. And after that, if you feel like you want access to the full, completely private and censorship-free model of DeepSeek, then use that same link, venice.ai/Team Skeptic, and sign up using my code to receive a 20% discount off the Pro plan. Thank you once again to Venice AI for sponsoring this video. So let's begin.
Dude, my lawyer is 82 years old. My lawyer, Andy Fanta, he's a maverick. Lindsay said to my 82-year-old lawyer, I hope and I pray that God lets me watch as you're cast into the fire and your skin melts from your body and you scream out in agony. My biggest wish is that God allows me to watch you suffer, blah, blah. Like, she sent that to my fucking octogenarian lawyer. So his hand was shaking. He printed it out and handed it to me, and his hand was shaking. He's like, in all my years of practicing law, I've never encountered such a vile human being. I'm like, dude, I've been getting those texts for 2 years.
Ms. Duneske, please state your name for the record.
Lindsay Duneske.
All right, parties, raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you give this court will be the truth and nothing but the truth? All right, very well. So I have a couple of motions in front of me, and I think it's probably going to be best to deal with there's a motion for recusal that was filed by Ms. Duneske. And Ms. Duneske, I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak to that motion, as that's probably a motion that should be heard first prior to the other motions. And that's prior to addressing any matters as it relates to this case on any issues.
If I could, Your Honor, first of all, as counsel for plaintiff, I would like to thank Jasmine of the court's office, because we were never served with the response for my motion to strike the pleadings, and we were not served with the motion to recuse and another motion, ex parte pickup for the kids. and kudos to the court's office and for Jasmine in sending copies of those three things to us. I just wanted to place that on the record. And coupled with that, it's my understanding that my office checked Odyssey, and there was a motion filed on the 27th of June, and there were, I think, two filings on the 29th of June that we have never gotten service on what was filed on the 27th or the 29th. And I just wanted to place that as a matter of the record before this honorable court. Thank you so much, Judge.
Okay, the court appreciates that. Ms. Castro, that's Jasmine Castro, is my judicial assistant, and she works very hard for the people of Wayne County, for which I've been elected to serve in this capacity. So, Ms. Duneske, what I will say is this. When you're representing yourself in pro per, which means you're self-representing, whenever you file something with the court, you have to serve copies or send copies to the other side. And so I'm just going to recommend that you do that, because what happens is if they're not getting the motions timely, then the matters, depending on the position of the other side, could be adjourned. So I don't know what Mr. Fanta's position would be this morning, but I do think it's important that I address your recusal motion. And so I'm going to allow you, Ms. Duneske, to proceed on your motion for recusal.
The reason why I didn't serve the other parties was I was asking.
Oh, so we're not on the serve side yet? Let's deal with the recusal motion first.
Yes, ma'am. So the reason why I was asking for the recusal is because when we had the PPO hearing to have the PPO dismissed that I had filed against Charles Nerswick, I was denied my due process. I was discriminated against by you because I had an illness, and I told you that I had an illness, and I told you that I couldn't take my medicine that was required for me to proceed because of my, I have ADD and I have autoimmune disorders. And so if I can't take my medicine, and I was sick and dehydrated for 3 days.
I'm sorry, but I'm not buying her bullshit. While there are protections under the ADA for people with ADHD, there is no blanket coverage, meaning that you can't just tell the court that you have an attention disorder and expect some kind of guaranteed special treatment.
And I had let you know that I had good cause to have the hearing rescheduled, and so I was not able to, articulate why I needed to have that PPO kept in place. And then you dismissed it. And then I asked, well, before you dismiss it, I would like my evidence, my actual physical evidence to be looked at. And you refused me a chance to have the evidence looked at. And then because of the dismissal of that PPO, it caused Charles Nerswick to harass me mercilessly. Him and his family terrorized me to the point where I had to leave my home. And I was trying to go to a domestic violence shelter because the harassment, it was like a mob style harassment had happened so fiercely against me in my own home, of which him and his family have conspired to evict me from unlawfully. And they locked me out of the house, even though the eviction wasn't complete. They would go in there when I wasn't there and destroy my things. And this was all because of that dismissal of the PPO. And then because of the dismissal of the PPO, he was able to harass me, and he took a state court order that was vacated by Washtenaw County and lied to the FBI and had the police lie to the FBI to have the children illegally kidnapped from me. And I have not seen them since May 5th. He's been illegally withholding my children, our children, since, or not May 5th, I'm sorry, May 6th, when the order was vacated on the 5th. And none of that could have happened if the dismissal of that PPO would have been heard properly and I would have been given a chance to defend my position and my stance with my evidence with a sound mind, which I couldn't do when I was so ill and I had the stomach flu for 3 days and I couldn't take my ADD medication or my autoimmune medication for 3 days. So I was not in a proper state of mind to testify. And that was a violation of my rights to have accommodations under the ADA and my right to due process under the 4th, the 5th Amendment, and also the 6th Amendment and the 14th Amendment, equal treatment under the law. So unfortunately, maybe you didn't realize it at the time, but you grossly violated my rights, and it led to the unlawful kidnapping by Charles and his co-conspirators of taking the children, and he's been withholding the children from me illegally and concealing them from me since May 6th.
Well, he hasn't been concealing them, and he doesn't have them illegally. He has full custody of y'all's children because you went full dipshit on him, his family, and the Washtenaw County Court.
Okay, Ms. Duneske, I've heard your motion. I don't know if you know what the purpose of a PPO motion is. First of all, the PPO motion will be against you and not the children. You did not sufficiently allege facts that indicated that your life was under any imminent threat. And so by you failing to show that, your PPO was terminated, and that was by me. Okay? So, and so because you failed to show sufficient evidence that your life was in imminent danger or that there were threats, then your PPO was dismissed. And PPOs are not to be used to prevent fathers or mothers from visiting with their children, from parenting time. There are court.
Show my evidence. I specifically asked you, ma'am, if I could show my evidence, and I never tried to keep the children from him.
And so as to your motion for me to recuse myself, it is denied.
So why didn't you let me show my evidence? You said I failed.
So I responded to your motion. I've denied it.
Well, I would like to know why you think that it's.
I just stated on the record.
Can we get the recording of that court proceeding so you can see?
It is available to the public. It is available to the public, and so you can obtain the recording. Your mouth is moving, Ms. Duneske, but we don't hear anything. I don't know if you have an issue with it. It appears you have an issue with your sound because you're not muted, but your mouth is moving that I'm noticing, and we can't hear anything that you're saying.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor, but she isn't actually talking. You see, sometimes her brain decides that she's said enough, but her mouth just never gets the memo.
I said, ma'am, you refused to allow me to show my evidence, so it's not fair for you to say I did not show evidence when I had evidence submitted and you literally refused to look at my evidence. And on top of that, I was not competent to stand trial, and I had good cause for a continuance of which you denied me under the ADA Title II because of my disabilities. I could not take my medication, which affects my neurological and physical ability to put my thoughts together because I have ADD due to a head injury as a child. And so I was dehydrated, I was sick, I couldn't take my medication, and I could not competently state my case that day because of my illness, and you did not give me the accommodation that I was required under the law, and you refused to allow me to submit my evidence that would have proven my case. And then you dismissed the PPO in violation of my rights. And just for the record, I never used the PPO to keep the children from the father, who he hasn't even established paternity yet.
Ms. Duneske, that's what you represented to this court. You represented.
Well, like I said, I was
incapable. The PPO to prevent Mr. Nerswick from.
No, I did not. I never did that. I did that for my own safety. I didn't even add the children on there except for that he couldn't take them without a court order.
Oh, okay. So you weren't denying him an opportunity to see his kids. You just weren't going to let him see them unless he went to the court to get an order forcing you to do so.
And that was what I was told to do by the people at First Step. I represented that I was scared of him due to his attack of me. I had pictures of the bruises. I had witnesses that show that wrote affidavits leading up to
Duneske,
it, and all of my evidence.
I've made my decision.
Well, then how do I appeal that? Because
so the court does not give legal advice. Okay, you're representing yourself in pro per. And so you're held to the standard of a licensed attorney of Michigan.
Actually, I'm not. That's not what the rules of pro se.
I would not give a lawyer legal advice on how to do a case. So
well, I'm not asking
that being said,
advice. I'm asking for what my recourse is.
I've made my decision.
And why did you make your decision? For the record, I'd like to know.
I've already stated it on the record. Mr. Fanta, you may proceed on your motion.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. And again, for purposes of the record, I really want to compliment the court and Jasmine Castro on this matter for her sensitivity in sending us responses that Ms. Duneske has filed. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. Your Honor, I have a motion.
Mr. Fanta, to proceed on those today. I don't know when you received them, but are you prepared today for those?
Well, no, I'm not, Your Honor. What I would very much like to do is, I'm conscious of the court's time. I have filed a motion to strike defendant's pleadings in response to the complaint that we filed for custody on May 15th. And I would just highlight for the court number 4, which has a number of different subsections to it. She responded with 15 pages of allegations against my client in a haphazard and disorganized manner. Allegations that and a request for a guardianship, and they're all enumerated in item number 4. And she concludes then finally that the plaintiff is not the biological father of the 2 minor children. So it's an
I never said that, sir. No, I did not.
He has an
established paternity, so please do not lie and misrepresent what I've said.
You're misrepresenting what you said, and it takes a special level of retardation to convince yourself that requiring him to take a paternity test is not the same thing as accusing him of not being the biological father.
Ms. Duneske, I will give you an opportunity to respond, but you have to let Mr. Fanta complete his.
Well, I object to dishonesty. So if he's dishonest, I will object.
But
I object to what he just said.
But you can't object to what someone has said unless you state a basis. And
I just did. It was a lie. You can look right at the paperwork, and I did not conclude anything. I said the only thing I concluded was he is not determined paternity.
So objections have to be as to the rules of evidence. And so you have to know the court rules of evidence in order to do an objection.
Well, you can instruct me as a judge because I'm a pro se litigant, and you can instruct me in procedure according to the rules.
So I do not give legal advice. I'm holding you to the standard of a lawyer today. Okay.
Well, and that's a violation of my rights because I'm not held to the
to represent yourself in pro per. And so you are not going to be able to interfere with what Mr. Fanta says again, or this court is going to hold you in contempt. And so I am warning you, Ms. Duneske. Mr. Fanta, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would appreciate it if the court would honor my motion to strike, give what the court thinks would be a reasonable time for the defendant to answer the complaint for custody, instruct the defendant that on the pleadings, in addition to the case number, counsel is to be listed with his name, address, and email and contact numbers, and that a proof of service that we have received the response, the answer to our complaint. Secondly, I would like to have this honorable court issue an order of temporary custody for the children for Mr. Nerswick. In Exhibit B, which is attached to the pleadings that we filed, is a detailed statement, review, and recommendation from the Washtenaw County Circuit Court, friend of the court.
That's inadmissible. It was from a vacated order. I object to that, Your Honor. According to the rules of evidence.
You will get a chance to respond, Ms. Duneske.
So should I just write down my objections? I thought you object as they come up.
No, that's not how that works. Not under these circumstances. This is a case management conference.
I guess I'm not really surprised anymore when people whose entire legal education comes from YouTube videos don't understand proper court procedure.
Mr. Fanta, you may proceed on the friend of the court. I'd like to know more about that order.
Yes, Your Honor, if I could sketch a bit of background. When Ms. Duneske filed the PPO against Mr. Nerswick, the one that this honorable court dismissed, Mr. Nerswick followed my instructions to the letter, did not go near, wasn't in the vicinity of the premises, and stayed away. He bunked with friends in Washtenaw County, and after the county residence was established by him, we filed a complaint for custody in Washtenaw County.
Mr. Fanta, I'm sorry to interrupt. I see two PPOs here.
Well, Mr. Nerswick filed a PPO against Ms. Duneske.
Oh, I see it. And so the PPO that she had, 23-100812.
That was heard by this honorable court and dismissed by this honorable court.
I understand. What is the status of his PPO against Ms. Duneske?
It's still in existence.
Okay. All right. I see it. I'm sorry. You may proceed on the more information on the family court matter. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I understand there's a lot of balls in the air on this case. Basically, he had an order for the kids, and we worked with Sumter Township in trying to obtain the kids from the lawful court order.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to ask questions. So there was a Washtenaw County order, and is that order still standing? It's still in place?
The Washtenaw County case was dismissed, Your Honor. That's why we filed the case before Your Honor in Wayne County. He got the custody of the kids from the Washtenaw County.
So what was the basis of that case being dismissed in Washtenaw?
There were three. If you would like, I sent you a letter.
No, it's not your turn. Mr. Fanta, are you able to give me that information, or your client is under oath and he can give it to me too?
Well, that would be fine, Your Honor. This case is massive in its exhibits. I have an exhibit there. I'm just going through it now.
Nerswick, can you give me? So if a case is dismissed, I mean, yes, it appears that Mr. Nerswick had the kids based on an order that was out of Washtenaw County, but without me getting an understanding as to why that case, Ms. Duneske, not your time, it's the plaintiff's time. I'm going to come to you, okay? Okay, so had you served her personally with a process server, Mr. Fanta?
Yes, she had proper service on the Washtenaw.
Go ahead, Mr. Fanta. I'm going to mute her until it's time for her to speak. Don't unmute yourself, Ms. Duneske. Go ahead, Mr. Fanta.
Yes, she had proper service of the Washtenaw County case. I'm trying to get the person here. Just give me a second, Your Honor. I'll try to find.
So it wasn't dismissed for improper service, but
no.
It was dismissed for something. And I guess the thing is, there's an order that was in place, and then the case gets dismissed for an unknown reason. And both of you are here today in Wayne County. Now, Mr. Fanta, is your client a resident of Wayne County?
Yes, he is, Your Honor.
All right. And so I am going to allow Miss Duneske to speak. So, Miss Duneske, you may unmute yourself and you may speak to what has been said. Now, what I do want I want to specifically know, why was the case in Washtenaw dismissed?
I did send the copy of what I had sent to the court to you guys via email this morning as to why Judge O'Brien vacated the order. There was 3 points, of which it was
Hold on 1 second. Let me pull the order.
It was found to be void. And I think I sent you the order as well.
Hold on. Did you send it to Mr. Fanta?
Well, he has a copy of it as well. Yeah, when I sent,
I'm going to ask that you email it to Mr. Fanta right now.
Yeah, he had a copy of it originally when I first sent it to the judge. I think you can see he was copied on it.
Okay, I don't think he has it right now. And so what I want you to do is I want you to email it to Mr. Fanta right now.
Okay, got it.
I don't have any of the Washtenaw County case with me here.
I don't have the email, Ms. Duneske.
Oh,
How did we send
forwarding it to, like, I'm forwarding it from where I sent it to you.
Judge, she sent an email at 8:14 a.m. It was 2 of them.
Okay, did you send it to Mr. Fanta?
I'm trying to find his email in here. Hang on 1 second.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to do today.
Here we go, the law shop. So the court order was vacated due to fraud upon the court, lack of jurisdiction, and improper service. And
okay, I think where do you live, Miss Duneske?
I was living in Belleville at the time, and so the kids were living in Belleville at the time, and so the case should have been filed in Wayne County, but because I had the PPO, he lied about his address to get it into Washtenaw County. But even if he had been in Washtenaw County, it goes by where the kids were living, and we were living in Belleville at the time. So
okay, so here,
in a way,
well, let me ask you this: where were the kids? What was the well, let me ask you this. Before the case was filed in Washtenaw County, where were the kids?
With me.
Mr. Fanta.
So the lawyer.
Mr. Fanta, you're muted.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is what I want to do. This is what I do. I do parenting time orders at case management. Okay. I'm going to refer this case to Fane. But because it takes a while for the court dates to come, I'd like to have a parenting time schedule in place. So was there regular visitation with how old are the kids?
3 and 4.
And was there
regular? He's been withholding them from me for 2 months now.
Ms. Duneske, hold on.
No, I want to file charges against him for parental kidnapping.
But that's not where this is not where you do that. Okay.
Well, the police will not help me. So this court is.
So hold on. So Miss,
I would get a chance to talk.
Ms. Duneske.
Well, ma'am, you said you'd give me a chance to talk, and I have not.
But that's not what we're doing right now. Okay.
Well, I would like to see my children. I haven't seen them in 2 months.
Ms. Duneske, were there regular visits with Mr. Nurswick prior to the filing of the Washtenaw County case?
He refused to see them. He refused to talk to me about them. I contacted his lawyer, which I also sent you the emails.
I'm saying prior to the Washtenaw filing, you said the kids were with you.
They were with me, and I tried to get him to talk to the kids. I even contacted his lawyer to set up facilitation of him talking to the kids through, because I had the PPO, and I was not trying to keep the kids from him at all. I wanted him to have communication with the kids, and he had showed no interest in communicating.
Okay, Mr. Fanta, your response to that?
Your Honor, everything that Ms. Duneske has just shared with the court is not factually based. It is blatantly untrue.
So tell me, Mr. Fanta, why I should not put a parenting time order in place.
I sent you the
Until
email, by the way.
You all go to Fame.
If I may, Your Honor, when we filed the Wayne County case, we were conscious of the parenting time needs, and my client and my office paralegal met with Sumter Township. We tried to work with them so that we could have parenting time. Hanging over this case is a South Carolina case, 2018 DR-233056, where Mr. Kenneth Duneske, a former spouse of the defendant in this case, was awarded custody of their 2 children.
Damn, Lindsay, you're 0 for 5 when it comes to mothering children. Maybe it's time for you to pick up a new hobby, like competitive window licking.
There is a court order from that case holding her in contempt with a 6-month jail term, and that is Appendix E in my pleadings that are filed with this honorable court, and she took the kids and fled to Michigan.
I absolutely did not. That is a lie. I object to that. That order is actually a void order as well.
So here's where I'm going to, I'm making a decision today. Mr. Nerswick is here today. He's hired counsel today. Mr. Nerswick has been at all court appearances.
So have I.
I'm going to refer, you have.
So can I please see my children? There's absolutely no reason for me to not see my children.
What was just represented to me.
But that isn't true, ma'am. I have a right to defend that.
And not only that, your words indicated that you were filing a PPO to keep Mr. Nerswick from his kids.
No, I was not, ma'am.
And so there was not.
No, ma'am, I did not.
So here is what we're going to do.
Ma'am, excuse me, can I please have my due process and say, I sent you an email this morning. Yeah,
but you did not send it to Mr. Fanta. He did not.
It was an email.
So Mr. Fanta, I'm going to give you an opportunity to review everything.
It was an email I sent to Mr. Fanta, ma'am.
Ms. Duneske has supplied this court with. The court is just getting an email this morning at 8:14. And so in the meantime, while the court is reviewing these motions that are supposed to be submitted to the court timely, not the day of, then
they're not motions. They were just
you can't send anything to this court that's not sent to the court timely. Because
what I'm saying is that the letter that I had sent was a letter that I sent to Mr. Fanta showing that I had goodwill. I never tried to keep my children, ma'am.
I am doing an order. I'm referring you to Fame, Mr. Fanta.
Yes.
I'll get an order from Miss Jasmine Castro, my judicial assistant.
There has to be a good reason for you to keep my children from me, and there is absolutely no reason. I have been their sole caregiver since birth. They were ripped away from me illegally based on an order that the
you'll
judge
get a referral for Fame.
But why I need to see them now. I have a right to see. They have literally kept my children. The Sumter did not.
Your request motion to strike is going to be held in abeyance. I'll take a look at that, Mr. Fanta, the next time you come. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
In the meantime, I have to send you all to Fame. And the children.
Your Honor, I would like to state that I never kept him from the children, and that email that I had sent this morning, ma'am, was me showing that I wanted him to see the kids.
My clerk gives me a date as soon as she.
So I don't understand why you're saying that I used the PPO to keep him from the kids. I never did that.
That's what you said.
No, I never said that. When did I say that?
You said as a result of your PPO being terminated by me, he came and got the kid.
No, he came and harassed me. That's not what I said, ma'am. You are I never said those words.
Okay, well, you know what? I said, ma'am, going to Fame so that this court.
I don't know what Fame is,
going on.
But the
Fame
thing is
the Family Assessment, Mediation, and Education Department.
So will I be able to see my children? They have been withheld illegally from me in violation of 750.350A for 2 months. I haven't seen them. I haven't talked to them. He won't communicate to me about them. He won't tell me how they are. He won't tell me where they're at. That's illegal. That's a felony crime that he is committing. And this court is responsible to stop that crime from and violating my parental rights when I have not been found guilty of any crime. I've not done anything but be an excellent mother. He has been abusive to me. And what I said was, I left the house to go to a domestic violence shelter, not to keep him from the children, but he was terrorizing me because you dismissed the PPO unlawfully. That's what I said. I never said I filed a PPO to keep those children away from him. As a matter of fact, I have proof in phone calls and emails showing that I made goodwill effort despite the PPO. And I have text messages to him saying, I want you to be able to speak to the kids. And he refused. I said we could go to mediation. He refused.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. And I want to ask you guys something real quick. What do you think would happen to a father who ignores a court-ordered PPO that was put on him because the mother wants him to see his children? Yeah, that's a setup to be arrested for violating a no-contact order. And Chuck, I know you watch these videos, so I want to tell you something real quick. You did the smartest thing possible by ignoring her despite wanting to see your kids more than anything in the world.
I asked his lawyer, does he want to talk to the
Well,
kids?
you're about to get the opportunity to go to mediation now. I'm about to mute you, Miss Duneske.
So,
Your Honor, if I may, the only thing.
What time? Hold on 1 second. Let me get a date.
September the 27th at 10:45.
So she's saying September 27th at 10:45. Okay, you may.
in the meantime, though, when can I see my children? They've been withheld for 2 months illegally. And that is a
So what
violation
I'm
of my
going to-
parental
what I'm
rights. So can
going
I
to
see my
order-
kids this week?
Mr. Fanta, I am going to order supervised visitation through GrowthWorks.
Why do I have to have supervised visits, ma'am? There has to be an actual legal reason. There's no lawful reason for me to have
And she
supervised
can
visits with
Visit
my
with
children.
the kids once a week, supervised visitation.
So
through
why do
GrowthWorks.
I have to have supervised visits, ma'am?
Ms.
You need
Castro,
to give
did
me
you
a
get
lawful
that?
reason.
Your
I need
Honor,
a lawful reason why I'm being,
Your
I'm
Honor,
having my parental rights obstructed.
Go ahead, Mr. Fanta.
yes, Your Honor, counsel would suggest that when this honorable court has a moment off the bench to work with the judicial officer, Ms. Castro, and look at appendix.
Actually, this case needs to be dismissed. As a matter of fact, this needs to be dismissed immediately because he's filing with unclean hands.
Go ahead,
He's
Mr.
filing, ma'am, I forgot to say, when you said I was going to have a chance to talk, this case needs to be dismissed because he has filed it improperly. He hasn't established paternity yet. So this can't even be filed. And he's filed with unclean hands.
Mr. Fanta.
Can we please talk about the dismissal before this goes to fame?
Your Honor, I think the court has an idea of what plaintiff and plaintiff's counsel has been dealing with as this case has evolved. And the only thing, we accept the court date of September 27th at 10:45 back here before this honorable court. We accept the referral.
I don't accept it. This needs to be dismissed immediately.
It's very difficult for counsel to.
Well, you've had a chance to talk, and I was told I was going to get a chance to talk, and I did not. I got a chance to talk for 30 seconds, and which is why
Mr.
I'm interrupting, because my due
You get the
process,
supervised
again,
GrowthWorks every week.
ma'am, I would like to know a lawful reason why this is not being dismissed based upon the fact that he
Mr.
has not
Fanta,
established,
did you
he
hear
has not
what I
established
ordered?
paternity.
I'm
I
sorry.
do not consent to the jurisdiction of this court. This needs to be dismissed
Mr.
on
Fanta,
the rules of Michigan rules of procedure.
Mr. Fanta.
Yes, Your Honor. Again, if counsel could summarize for the court, we accept the court's date of September 27th at 10:45. We obviously accept the referral to fame. We accept a weekly supervised visit with GrowthWorks. And I understand the court in deferring a hearing on my motion to strike, although I think it would be in the interest, Your Honor, and I do think you have enough evidence to strike her response so that when we do meet on September 27th back before Your Honor, we do have an answer to the complaint for custody that comports with the court rules. That's the only
I
suggestion.
understand. You're correct, Mr. Fanta. I'm gonna
Well, I
strike.
can have it served to him if that's what needs to be done, but I want to quote
So I'm
rule
gonna strike.
2.116.
I'm gonna grant you
right,
your
summary.
request. Ms. Castro, if you
Ma'am,
can issue
this-
an order granting his request to strike the pleading that she has submitted. And so that's done, Mr. Fanta.
Thank you very much.
I'm requesting, according to rule 2.11.
Go ahead, Mr. Fanta.
The only other
When
thing.
am I going to get a chance to talk?
What the fuck have you been doing this whole time, Karen? And if you had even the slightest modicum of what it means to be an adult, then you'd understand that the best conversations happen when only one person speaks at a time.
Mr. Fanta, you're gonna have to continue to talk. Don't stop.
Thank you,
Will
Your
I
Honor.
get an-
Thank you, Your Honor. Very briefly, I'd like to have you sign an order that has been submitted to this honorable court for temporary custody for plaintiff. Everything
I'm
else.
motioning for a dismissal, Your Honor,
No, I'm
when
not
I
gonna
will have
do
a
it.
chance to be heard on that.
Mr. Fanta, I'm not gonna do a
I
temporary
would like a
order
chance
for custody. I need
after he's done speaking. Will I have a chance?
I need an order. What I typically do is parenting time, and then when you all come back, I'll have a recommendation from Fane.
Ma'am, will I have a chance to assert my dismissal?
I don't really have a basis. Well, this court is not satisfied. I understand Ms. Duneske.
You have to give me a chance to present that.
She's very rude, but I need a
Ma'am, I am not
I
trying to
need
be rude.
mediation to do a family assessment.
I would like to be able to have my due process.
So I don't do
Ma'am, that's
custody
asserting.
orders at case management. I'm not even temporary. Did you hear what I said, Mr. Fanta?
I was able to glean that, Your Honor. Thank you so much. We will abide by the court's rulings.
I would like to,
And so
I would like to be heard on the
let me
dismissal. please.
think about for a second, because I want,
This case should be dismissed and I have a right to be heard as to why, ma'am.
I'll submit an order for temporary sole legal and sole physical custody, Mr. Fanta. I will grant you that.
Your Honor, you should have
Why
that.
is that being granted? Because I have a right to.
And so, but I do want the visitation every weekend, the kids visiting and readily available to visit with Ms. Duneske every weekend at GrowthWorks.
Absolutely, Your Honor. And I think we did submit an order
So
that
if you submitted it, you can reach out to Ms. Castro, make sure I'll have it, and she'll get it to me the way that we do in this courtroom for me to sign, okay?
that would be fine, Your Honor.
I don't sign those orders prior to a hearing, prior to at least your case management, because I'd like to know what is going on the case prior to signing any orders as it relates to anything that is sold. If it's joint, then yeah, you can get those signed. If it's joint legal,
Your Honor,
physical, then I'll sign. But I'd like to have an opportunity to have a hearing on matters before I do that. But I will sign your temporary sole legal and sole physical custody.
Your Honor,
Thank
I would like to be able to
Okay.
present my case for dismissal, and
Ms.
present my motion for
Ms.
dismissal,
Duneske,
because this
So,
was filed improperly. So
understand-
may I please have a chance?
Understand
now?
your response to the answer is not adequate and not accordant.
You didn't give
the
me a
court
chance.
rules.
I would like to read what I have here. I have a right
No.
to assert my case. Why are you
Yeah.
denying me?
So
This
there
is
are
why I asked
certain-
for a recusal, because you're denying me due process. You denied me due process in the last case.
So there are certain
I'm here and I'm
procedures that you
prepared,
have to
ma'am.
follow.
Excuse me, ma'am.
and
I
you
have a right
not
to
followed
speak.
them.
No, you have the right to remain silent, even if you lack the ability.
And
I
so
have followed them.
Fane will be.
I can motion for a dismissal at any point during this hearing, and I am now currently
Fane
motioning
will be
for a
contacting
dismissal.
the parties.
And I need a lawful reason
to
why
work
my
out a date.
dismissal, my motion for
Ms.
dismissal is being.
Duneske, do you
refused
have
by
an email address that you can put in the chat? Do we have her contact information?
I would
What's
like
your email address?
2.116 says that I can motion for a dismissal at
We have
any
an email.
time.
address.
And I motion that because of
Mr.
fraud
Fanta,
upon the
make
court,
sure
and I
when you
motion
speak,
for a
we
dismissal
have-
based upon he has not even established paternity yet. There is no paternity established, so he cannot, there is no, what he can, the party asserting the claim lacks the legal capacity to make the claim. This court does not have subject matter jurisdiction over this case because he's coming to the court with unclean hands where he lied to a court, which you can contact Washtenaw County Court and verify that they vacated the order. They vacated the order because of he lied and because I showed proof that he had
Mr.
tampered
Duneske,
with
can
my
you
mail.
put your email address?
There is no information claim.
Oh, we
You
don't
guys have
any-
my email address,
we
but the
don't
thing
have,
is that,
we do not have any information for you, Ms. Duneske. I need you
well,
to.
the opposing party has failed to state the claim on which
The
relief to be
court
granted.
is
So this
asking you
this
to
needs to be
put your
dismissed.
email address in the chat so that you can get notices.
I don't even know where the chat is.
Tap the screen and press chat and put your email address in there.
So I would like to know a lawful reason why, based on what I'm saying, why
I
this
don't
is not
see
being
your email
dismissed.
in the chat. Have you figured out how to do it, Ms.
I'm
Duneske?
typing it in right now.
Please do.
Your Honor, if when we leave the honorable courtroom, if I could connect with the court's judicial attorney, Jasmine
We have to
Castro.
do that when we get off the docket later this afternoon.
So I would like you to entertain my motion for dismissal, and I would like you to hear what I have to say, and I would like to have my due process. So I would
You're
like
gonna be
for it to
allowed
be
to
heard.
visit with your kids every weekend at Growth Works.
Well, I want to know why I have to have
No
supervised
issue.
visits. There's no reason. You have no reason to make
As
me
well
have
as you are
supervised
being
visits.
referred to Fame.
So,
Um,
ma'am,
Mr.
excuse
Fanta,
me,
submit
I
your
would like
order,
to have my
temporary
right
sole
to due
legal and
process
sole
heard with
physical
this.
custody. I will sign the order.
If he has not established
I will
paternity,
submit
how
it,
can
Your
he be
Honor. Thank
allowed
you.
to file for
Okay, thank
custody,
you.
ma'am?
This meeting has concluded.
Ma'am, are you going to continue to deprive me of my due process?
This meeting
I'm
has
motioning for a
concluded.
dismissal. Can you please give me a lawful reason why?
Thank
Can you
you,
give me
Your
a
Honor.
lawful reason why you're
Recording
not allowing my
stopped.
dismissal?
Yeah, I can. The court doesn't have to grant you a dismissal just because you keep talking over everyone and demanding it. And there's a couple of things to note here. At the end of this hearing, Judge Triplett reestablished the sole custody that was granted to the father by Washtenaw County. Also, Judge Triplett struck her motion to dismiss, which was also her answer. So she hasn't legally filed an answer yet, and that's going to come back to bite her in the ass.
Recording in
This is
progress.
case number 23-105-109-DC in a matter of Charles Nurswick versus Lindsay Duneske. Counsel for plaintiff, your appearance.
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. Andrew Fanta on behalf of and with Charles Nurswick.
Okay, Ms. Duneske, please state your name for the record.
Lindsay Duneske.
And Mr.
Duneske is how you pronounce it?
Duneske,
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I'll work really hard at pronouncing it correctly.
You can just call me Lindsay. I don't care.
Mr. Nurswick, please state your name for the record.
Charles Nurswick.
Okay, will the parties please raise your right hand? Ms. Duneske?
Oh, yeah, hang on 1 second.
Okay. You solemnly swear affirm any testimony you give the court today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
All right, you may put your hands down. Mr. Fanta, we received your affidavit of parentage for the 2 minor children, and that has been filed with the court.
Why didn't I not get a copy of that?
Well, this was already filed with the court, an
When?
affidavit for parentage.
And that is actually a custody order saying that I have custody of these children. So that's fine that it's been filed, but I was not notified that this was filed.
Well,
And this case needs to be dismissed because there's no standing. And I am suing you in federal court and in the Court of Appeals, and your judicial immunity is waived because you have no jurisdiction to be hearing this case. Because he did not establish paternity with an order of filiation before he filed this case. And not only that, even if he had filed an order of parentage or an order of filiation, because he kidnapped the children illegally and went to another court and lied about where he lived to get jurisdiction moved and stole my court documents, to make sure I didn't know when the court hearings were.
Ms.
And then order that was
Mr.
made.
Duneske,
So
when
he has
you-
unclean hands because he's in violation of
was
the law.
Mr.
So there's no standing for this case to move forward, and it needs to be dismissed immediately. Furthermore, I motion to strike Andrew Fanta's all of his testimony.
Mr. Duneske, he signed the birth certificate. He was at the
It
hospital.
doesn't matter.
When
That
you
does not
had
what does
kids.
Michigan law say about that? He's still, even if
He
he's on the
signed, he was
birth certificate,
there. You all were together. He was at
doesn't
the
matter.
hospital
It doesn't
with
matter. He still has to establish
and he signed the
paternity.
birth certificate. So when he
And
signed
what does Michigan law say? What does Michigan law say about establishing paternity before filing a case?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because I looked it up. And according to MCL 722.714.2, an action to determine paternity shall not be brought under this act if the child's father acknowledges paternity under the Acknowledgement of Parentage Act. What is the Parentage Act? Well, for that, we head to MCL 722.1004. where it states that the Paternity Act is a signed acknowledgement that establishes paternity, and the acknowledgement may be the basis for paternity for court-ordered child support, custody, or parenting time without further adjudication under the Paternity Act. So in a vacuum, Lindsay Duneske is right. Without an acknowledgement of parentage, paternity must be established before a paternity case can go forward. But if there's anything you know about me, it's that I bring the receipts. So on screen, I have the acknowledgement of parentage signed by both the mother and the father for both of their kids. So at this point, the court can ignore her demands because parentage has been established by her.
This
is an improper case with no standing.
And so the state of Michigan,
we need to have a separate paternity. This needs to be dismissed.
For vital records and help has been submitted. State document of affidavit of parentage has been submitted.
And that establishes his responsibility to the children. And you should know this as a family court judge. It's pathetic that you don't know this, quite frankly. And you're supposed to establish paternity. He has established responsibility. He took responsibility for those children. That's all the affidavit of parentage is. You need to look at Michigan law. I put it in the pleadings that I submitted.
I'm going to mute you if you do not allow Mr. Fanta.
In the motion to dismiss, I detail.
Go ahead, Mr. Fanta.
Thank you.
I object to testimony by Mr. Fanta.
Is there any way that she can stay muted?
I object to him testifying on behalf of Charles Nerswick. It's hearsay.
Mr.
Trinsley v. Argo.
Ms. Duneske, I have not filed you in contempt or
I have to actually do something illegal for you to
you are disrupting these hearings.
These hearings shouldn't be going on. They should be dismissed right now. They should.
Ms. Fanta, Mr. Fanta, what are you
pursuant to Michigan law.
All right. Ms. Duneske has muted herself. Finally, Mr. Fanta, how would you like to proceed today?
Well, if I may, Your Honor, I will try not to try the court's patience in this matter. Basically, I'd like to give the court a quick overview. Concerning parenting time, visits at GrowthWorks, there have been 4. The first one.
Yeah, the ransom. My kids are being held hostage. I object to this, GrowthWorks. And you guys have kidnapped my children. You're holding them hostage and you're charging me a ransom.
Is it your point, Mr. Fanta, that Ms. Duneske has not participated in any of the GrowthWorks?
No, Your Honor. I was in the process of giving you an overview of the GrowthWorks visits.
Okay.
For I was interrupted.
And I motion to strike. I object because he's not allowed to present evidence via the Supreme Court ruling Trinsley v. Argo. I motion to strike everything he's saying.
Mr. Fanta.
He's not allowed to present evidence, so I motion to strike, and you're ignoring my right to strike and object.
Ms. Duneske, let me just say this. If you want to continue in this hearing and not be removed from this Zoom hearing, this hearing can go without you because
no, it can't. You need to uphold the law. You took an oath to uphold the law.
Is this a default? Mr. Fanta, have you filed for entry? It looks like I see an entry for default, which means, Ms. Duneske, you didn't file an answer to the complaint. And so
yes, I did. You struck it from the record. Remember?
You're only
and nobody told me what the default was. I have filed repeated things and
That
answers.
you never filed an answer.
I refiled many answers.
No, you never filed an answer to the complaint
Yes,
within.
I did. What do you think all the things I submitted were? Those were answers. They were motions to dismiss. That was my answer. My
You
answer
did not
to
file
the
an
complaint.
answer to the complaint.
Okay, well, I'm not an attorney, so I filed.
But
I
although
filed-
you're representing yourself, you're
doesn't matter. My
speaking of an
answer was a
attorney.
motion to dismiss. I am stating on the record that my answer to the complaint was a motion to dismiss, which is a valid answer to a case that has no standing. This case has no standing. You are hearing this case in complete absence of jurisdiction.
This
And you're going
complaint
to go
was
to prison
filed
for kidnapping
by
my child.
May 15th, 2023.
I filed multiple answers. I filed pleadings that were stricken illegally by you, even though I was told by your assistant that because there was already a hearing, that all I had to do was email the stuff to Andrew Fan.
Hold on,
I have a recorded phone call of that. So you struck my answer, and now you're saying I defaulted. Sorry, that's illegal.
No, it's not illegal. It's defaulted. You see, you had an opportunity to answer the opposing attorney's motions, and you attempted to do so with construction paper and edible highlighters, so the court struck your answer. This meant that you still needed to file an answer to those motions, and you didn't. And Judge Triplett just realized that you're no longer needed here.
I'm looking for your proof of service. Looks like a proof of service was filed. Well, it needed to be filed by.
I have received no
14.
service on this case at all, on anything on this case except for the very first summons and complaint.
So you just acknowledged receiving the complaint and summons.
The original one, and that was it. That's the only thing I've been properly served on.
Hold on.
I haven't been served on the erroneous PPO where he lied. And this picture right here, he took on a different date. And I want the timestamp on this picture where he lied.
Ms. Castro, hold on one second. I'm looking for the proof of service.
And in case you weren't aware,
What's the
there's
date?
been a
Ms.
writ of
Castro?
mandamus filed against this court and against you.
What date was the proof of service filed for the summons and complaint? Ms.
I just filed it a few days ago, but the actual proof of service was.
I have a document that has a proof of service that is before the date that the document was actually signed by the judge. So there's corruption and incompetence happening in this case, which is another valid reason for the case to be dismissed with prejudice in my favor. And charges need to be brought against Fanta and Nerswick for harassing and stalking me and producing fraud on the court, for perjuring themselves on the court.
But she was served May 21st, 2023 at 2 p.m.
So May 21st, 2023 at what time?
At 2 p.m.
For the initial proceedings. That's it.
So Ms. Duneske, you received the summons and complaint on May 21st, 2023 at 2 p.m.
He actually stalked me to
No,
my niece's
did you
school.
receive? But you just said
I'm answering your question. So please let me
Ms.
speak.
Castro, who is the person on there?
He followed me to my niece's school at one of her events and almost caused an accident in the parking lot with her in the car and was throwing.
Who was the person that
served her was Tony Price.
And Chuck was there stalking and harassing me.
So is Chuck Tony Price?
No, but he was there and he almost caused an accident in a school parking lot because they were stalking me. They couldn't wait.
Who is Tony Price, Ms. Duneske?
His business partner and the one who helped him kidnap my children.
Was he there at the time on
Tony? Yeah. He came into a parking lot and threw the papers at the car.
All right. And then
we were in a parking lot trying to go into a school event. And they almost hit people.
So for the record,
caused accidents in a school parking lot.
Ms. Duneske has acknowledged receiving the summons and complaint that was served on her by Tony Price, who she knows, in a parking lot on 5/21/2023 at 2 p.m.
I don't know what time it was.
Okay.
But that's the only service I've received about anything on this case at all. Everything else has been improperly served, which warrants a dismissal of this case. There's like 10 different reasons lawfully why this case needs to be dismissed. And you're proceeding in absence of jurisdiction, which you know as a judge means you have no qualified immunity. And I'm going to sue you and assert my legal right to recourse against you criminally. And the penalty for kidnapping a child is the death penalty under color of law. And I will be seeking the death penalty or life in prison for you, Regina Triplett, along with Andrew Fanta and Charles Nerswick and everybody else involved. Stephanie Priest, Tony Priest, all of them. I'll be seeking criminal charges for kidnapping. Maybe if you guys had looked at the actual evidence.
Okay, it doesn't appear that
my
an answer
children
was filed in this case prior to the defendant being served. How are
There
you
was what?
proceeding, Mr. Fan?
there was an answer filed, you said. Is that what you said?
I said there was not an answer.
There was an answer filed. You struck my answer.
Yeah,
My
nothing was
answers were
filed.
stricken, and my answer was a motion to dismiss. And then at the last hearing, I motioned to dismiss verbally. So that was another time that I answered the complaint.
So there's no answer filed. So, Mr. Fanta,
Yes, there was an
proceed.
answer filed. It was a
You may
motion.
proceed,
dismiss.
Ms. Fanta, on how Mr. Fanta, on how you want to, what you want to
Yes.
represent to the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to give the court a little bit of an overview as to what brings us and what we have tried to accomplish prior to this hearing.
Actually, I object because this needs to be dismissed immediately pursuant to Michigan law.
Continue, Mr. Fanta.
I
Yes,
object.
Your Honor, concerning the Growth Works visitations, there were
You need to
four.
either over, Your Honor. You're not.
Keep going, Mr.
was-
Fanta.
I'm
Don't stop.
I'm objecting to proceedings. I need a law. Why you guys are proceeding in violation of my rights? Why are you proceeding?
Ms. Duneske has been removed from this meeting. She's been very disrespectful to this court. She's continuing to talk and be very disruptive to this court since the calling of this case, and refuses to allow Mr. Fanta an opportunity to speak. I muted her, my clerk muted her at least 5 or 6 times. She continues to unmute and continues to be disruptive to this court. Mr. Fanta, you may proceed.
All right, so it looks like the hearing to determine whether Lindsay Duneske will ever see her kids again will proceed, just without Lindsay. And I'll go ahead and play you Judge Triplett's ruling.
June 30th, 2023, the court ordered psychological evaluation to include testing, and that was on both parties. I ordered a mental illness assessment for plaintiff and defendant. I asked that parenting capacity be assessed for plaintiff and defendant. I asked for an evaluation on parental interference for plaintiff and defendant, as well as other factors to be considered so that a recommendation could be made. Ms. Duneske has refused to cooperate with the FAME Assessment, Mediation, and Education Department. And that report indicates that she refused, and the recommendation from FAME was to award the father sole legal as well as sole fiscal custody. Well, no, I'm sorry, that's what the current order was of this court. It says Ms. Duneske did not participate in the family assessment process before her scheduled appointment on August 28, 2023. Ms. Duneske sent an email to a FAME secretary stating, "I'm just making you aware that this agency is participating on a violation of my rights and asking why this agency is participating in the unlawful kidnapping of my children in violation of my rights under the color of law." So that's why the court ordered a psychological evaluation for both of the parents. They did do an interview on Mr. Nurswick that indicated he appeared on time for his interview, and all the other court, all the other points relating in the report were satisfactory to this court, as well as the minor children being observed. I think this hearing was by Zoom, and they just made positive comments relating to the minor children interacting with Mr. Nurswick at the time of the interview. The court filing that the comments made about Mr. Nurswick were all or held Mr. Nurswick in a positive light. Fame could not, due to the Ms. Duneske not cooperating, a recommendation could not be provided to the court at this time, and closed the case out. So you indicated, Mr. Fanta, that supervised visitation, you would put in the order to continue parenting time with supervised visitation with Ms. Duneske.
That is correct, Judge. I think I would, concerning parenting time, I will just say supervised visitation is continue at GrowthWorks. And Mr. Duneske will comply with whenever those parenting time visits are established. And he accepts the fact that probably there will be future visits that might be canceled by Ms. Duneske at the last minute, but he will have the children there for the scheduled visits.
Okay, so Mr. Fanta, submit your order. Is there anything further?
Yes, Your Honor. We have one last hearing to get through, but don't worry, you're not going to have to kick Lindsay out this time because Lindsay didn't show up. It's a PPO violation hearing because despite being ordered by the court to leave her ex alone, she still sent him over 2,000 threatening texts and emails that he never responded to. So while we listen to Judge Triplett's ruling on this violation, I'm going to throw on just a few of the texts that she had sent him. Keep in mind, these texts all occurred within a 12-hour window, and this went on for over 2 years.
What a lot of matters for Mr. Nurswick, but let's focus your requests on Mr. Nurswick today. And I see the text messages that are harassing. You've communicated the text messages that she has sent to you. So I want to focus on that. And so when we focus on these text messages in your motion that you filed, I do see a violation. And because Ms. Duneske has a history of not showing up with this court, and you have asked this court to issue a bench warrant, and based on, I think you said 47 pages, Mr. Nurswick, of text messages.
I believe 46.
Wow. 46 pages of text messages. This PPO was issued May 8th, 2023. For violating the PPO, this court is going to, and then she's been served and has not appeared. This court is going to issue a bench warrant for her arrest.
I can honestly say that I'm glad that she has no more lawsuits, no more contact allowed with her ex, and most importantly, no more contact with the children so that she can't fuck their lives up too. Alright, so that's the end of part 2. Part 3 is already in production and should be out sooner than later, and don't forget, I have a surprise for you for part 4. So if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike. But don't forget to leave a comment below and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss any of my content. And once again, thank you to Venice AI for sponsoring this video. I'm Team Skeptic, and I'm out.